Hello everyone and welcome back. If you're watching this video because you just watched the unboxing video that I did of the ZenFone 6 Edition 30 a few months ago, I think it was, a couple of months ago. Anyway, there was one person that did this follow-up video and said, what do I like and not like after a week? I'm sorry, but a week is not long enough to judge all the decent things and all the not so decent things about your phone. Let's get down to what's good about this phone. We'll start right at the beginning, and that's the fingerprint sensor. And I have to say, this fingerprint sensor is amazing. It never fails me. There we go. Every single time. In fact, let's do say 5 attempts and you'll see. 1, 2, 3, other finger, 4, 5. It never fails to read. The only time I slightly had a problem was when I had a bit of a wet finger, but that's to be expected because I think most fingerprint sensors are a bit iffy when it comes to water, and this is not a waterproof phone, so you shouldn't really be trying it with a wet finger anyway. The next thing is brightness. Under direct sunlight, which I'm sure most people would want to know about, this is pretty damn impressive. Now, to put that in context, let me tell you that the first ZenFone that I had, the ZenFone 5, I basically couldn't really see anything under direct sunlight. This is a totally different story. It's not turned up all the way. If I turn it up maximum, get off, I'm sure you'll agree that's pretty damn bright. And I hope that Asus don't go down the road of OLED screens with the ZenFone 7. That would disappoint me because most people that I read all across the internet are saying that OLED screens burn out faster. They may look amazing at first compared to LCD, but LCD is still the best way to manage a screen for longevity. Alright, next is battery. I've got this battery optimization thing here. It has a lot of options. I'm not going through them all here because that'd be quite boring, but there's a lot of options you can set up and a lot of things you can check that will preserve your battery. But as for the battery itself, this is the first phone I can honestly say that does last out 2 days. I would think maybe if I didn't use it so much, it would probably last 4 days. No, I'm joking. No phone's going to last you 4 days. With my gaming overnight, my videos, my internet, my Twitter, it does really hold up. I mean, for example, I always think that when I'm at work, when it's coming down to 20% and then down into the teens, I think to myself, oh yeah, but I've only charged it last night, before realising I actually charged it the night before that. I do generally charge it just over once a day. The 5000 milliamp on this does last. Apparently they had some issue with their previous phone. Someone was saying that even with standard normal use, the 5000 milliamp didn't last as long as he was expecting. You can go out with confidence, even at say 20%, go out and do your food shopping, and it will definitely last you. I could not say that about the first ZenFone, but I definitely can say it here. I think that's maybe with the extra optimizations, like with the CPU and stuff like that and the operating system. Photos, I guess one of the main things you want to know is how good are the night shots. Well, as luck would have it, I have lined up a few night shots that I took recently with this phone at Winter Wonderland, and hopefully you can see that I think does pretty damn well. By default, the camera is actually set to 12 megapixels, and that's because that lets you use the optical zoom. When it's at 48 megapixels, you can't use the optical zoom. I've included a couple of day shots as well, but I mean, any phone does well during the daylight. And of course, this does have a Sony sensor in as well. Okay, next, the torch. I'm going to try and turn it around and see just how, I don't know if you can ever tell how bright that is just by looking at it on the screen. Probably not. But this torch is definitely the brightest one I've ever had. There's no real test that I can show you just how bright it is, but it is very bright. So I'm happy with that. Now, another thing that plenty of people are interested in, it seems, is what about the crud at the edge of the screen? Can I clean it out easily? Well, I'm happy to report that yes, you definitely can with this phone. I don't know if there's any right there right now, but when it's inside, there is some there. When it's inside the case, it does build up quite a lot of crud around the screen, but the way this phone is designed, you can definitely remove all of the crud, because as you can see right now, this is after weeks and weeks of use every single day, most of the night as well. There is no crud there and no build up, because I've always managed to get it out. It's a nice design to the front of the screen, so you can get all your little cruddy bits out and off of the screen. So it's definitely passed that test. And the phone I had before, the Sony XZ Premium, there was crud that I just could not dig out. Okay, the speed, as you would hope, considering it's got a Snapdragon 855, is extremely impressive. Multitasking is good, and because of I'm guessing because of the 12 gigabytes RAM, it keeps apps open for a hell of a long time. What I'm talking about, half a day later, I could say have the Star Wars game open and leave it open and then go back to it and it would still be open, whereas most other times the phone would close the app down. But this one keeps it open and without draining the battery as well. Everything is very fast. Okay, and as for the camera, you may be wondering what happens when you drop it. Well, I have to report that this camera does come loose because I have dropped it once, luckily not on concrete. But that's not really a downer, because all that you need to do is get it to flip up again, flip it down, and it will be back to being solid into place. Oh, the NFC location. Okay, the NFC on this, it's not actually labelled on the phone, but it's around the area that you'd logically expect it to be. So it's around there or there. Can't remember which offhand. But there we go. That's the NFC. Let's just turn my speaker on. So it's now linked up. The Bluetooth, if that doesn't work for any reason, the Bluetooth option also works very well indeed. As you can see, it's already paired with my Sony speaker. So that's the NFC, which is pretty good. Oh, and charging, I meant to say, this phone, the Sony phone that I had, considered that it was finished charging at 90%, and then it was up to you to get it to 100%. But this one, it only goes green when it's reached 100%. So that's when Asus are considering that you're charged. Before then, no. And finally, to a bit of a downer for me, which is the sound. Now, it does have a kind of make-do solution for stereo, which basically means the top one, the earpiece, doubles as a speaker. The sound is, can't think how to describe it, as a bit muffled, probably like my microphone right now. The one thing I would say is that the sound is loud, and it is actually very detailed. I can pick out a lot of detail in the sound when I'm playing my games that I couldn't in my Sony phone, which had front-facing speakers. That may help you in deciding. It's a case of getting used to it, I think. Once you've had this phone a while, you don't really tend to notice that much. And I mean, the sound is quite, it's not really right to say muffled, but it's kind of a duller sound than my Sony. There's even an adjustment you can make that it's got a sound setting for outdoor areas. Not sure how well that works, and it says it does drain the battery even more. And the touchscreen itself, I would say, is definitely very sensitive and it's very responsive. The final thing I would mention is the handling. This phone is so comfortable. I just realized another reason for that could be because it doesn't have curved edges, it's got flat edges. It's really comfortable to hold, and I wish that it didn't have to have the cover on it, because that does add a little bit of bulk. But the type of cover that I have, it's not that extreme. It doesn't make it that much more bulky, but without any cover on, this phone is the best, I would say. Best in terms of handling. I'm not saying it's the best phone ever. So, all in all, I am extremely happy with this phone. For battery, for the photos, which are a hell of a lot better than my original Asus phone, and I'm pretty damn happy with just about every result I get. It takes a bit of getting used to. For example, the camera itself is quite fiddly at first. You can do all sorts of things. I like the shot that gives you a wide-angled camera. The setting, rather. You can. Okay, Pro is what you need for the sophisticated stuff. Now the ISO, you can only adjust by, what would that be? 25 and then 15 and 100. It's not that precise that you can adjust it by. I'd like some more precision over that. You can get quite technical with the manual setup. Anyway, I hope this has helped you, and bear in mind that pretty much everything apart from the RAM and the storage, obviously, that's in this camera, you are going to be getting anyway with a standard ZenFone 6. So you don't need to buy the Edition 30 to get most of the benefits. And they do various, they do several variants of the ZenFone 6 as it is. So I think it goes up to, it's either 128 or 256 internal memory. And they've all got an SD card slot, which I'm extremely happy about. And for anyone that's interested, they've all got a headphone jack. I never use headphones on this, so it's of no interest to me. But I know a hell of a lot of people do like to have a headphone socket. So, that being said, that was my several months worth of intensive use of this new phone, and I am extremely impressed. I'm going to keep it. Having said that, I'm already looking out for the ZenFone 7, all the rumours on that. I'm just excited to see what they're going to do next. The Flippy Camera, it's hard to say whether it's a gimmick or actually genuine use. There's some things that it does that you cannot do at all in any other way. Like for example the panoramic selfie, where you can just stand there, and this is with the camera up obviously. You stand there and you press a button and the camera takes a photo of, I think it's 180 degrees all around you, and you just have to stand there in one spot. Not sure how you could do that any other way other than stitching, but this phone does it on its own. So that one feature might be of interest to you. I hope you've got some useful information, but if there's anything I've left out, do feel free to let me know in the comments. That's the one annoying thing. I'm just trying to keep this screen lit up. Thank you very much for watching, and any other things you want to know about this phone, then do let me know.